Hi and welcome to Best in Tesla News episode 143. Tesla has started expansion of their Berlin factory, and the energy crisis in Europe is the beginning of the end for the gas-fired power in Europe. And we have got some delivery numbers out of China, and we have got the first bankruptcy from legacy automakers in China. And we got another showcase of just how legacy automakers' old factories are not an asset, but an expensive problem. And Volkswagen says their MEB platform is not good enough for performance. And it seems like Tesla will go into mining and refining. All of this and much more on today's episode. Let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
And we have some delivery numbers out of Tesla China, and they are not as high as I was hoping for. So Tesla sold 71,704 Chinese-made vehicles in October, according to data released by the Chinese Passenger Car Association. That's up 32% from 54,391 units a year ago, but down almost 14% from the 83,137 units in September. So not sure what makes the drop in sales, because this is wholesale, so including all the exported vehicles, so these numbers should be pretty close to Shanghai's production numbers, maybe 10,000 units lower than production, but still very close, so definitely lower than the 22,000 units per week in production they are aiming for. This was maybe like 18,000 per week in production, so it looks like they still have some ramping up to do to get to the 22,000 units per week. But we can see that China's new energy vehicle sales did not grow very much in October compared to September. So maybe there's something else at play in China in the month of October. We can see NIO and XPeng are both down in October as well. XPeng is actually not looking that good. Look at their trend right now. That is a bit alarming. But someone like BYD did not fall in October, so going to be exciting to see how November will do. One that is doing very bad in China is Stellantis, that has filed for bankruptcy. The venture between Stellantis and Guangzhou Automotive Group producing Jeep vehicles in China is filing for bankruptcy, Stellantis said on Monday, after a lengthy decline for the oldest foreign auto brand in the world's largest market. 5 years ago, they sold over 200,000 vehicles in the country. In 2022, it looks like they will hit 2,000 units. But I think this will only be the first of many legacy automakers to file for bankruptcy, especially in China over the coming years. Even Audi was out saying there is a 50-50 chance that Audi will still be around in 10 years' time. Very honest statement from Audi there. But Tesla is not filing for bankruptcy. They are only heading in one direction. But I do think the Q4 numbers have definitely come down under the 500,000 units now. That no longer seems possible, even for a Tesla bull like myself, unless Tesla does some insane ramp for the last 2 months. So my guess as of now is production would probably be about 465,000 and deliveries about 450,000. What are your guess? Let me know in the comments down below. But this is still very good, no matter what the mainstream media would like you to think, as this will still be about 46% year-over-year growth in deliveries in Q4, and the year should end off with about the same 46% in growth in deliveries. And net income should still end up close to my previous prediction, about $12.8 billion, maybe now $12.6 billion, but thereabout. But this is still a very good upwards trend. As you can see here, since Tesla had their first profitable year only 2 years ago, it is not Tesla that is in trouble, as Tesla will beat both Ford, that is not having a good year, and GM, that is doing okay, but compared to Tesla, that so far has sold 4.5 times less cars than GM, but is beating them on the bottom line on net income. And remember, Tesla is growing very fast, but the bottom line is growing faster than the top line. Tesla will probably grow their net income something like 129% here in 2022. It is just so impressive how well run Tesla's business is. And let's just take a 1-minute break to get a quick word from today's sponsor, Blinkist. Because not only do they have a great offer right now, but what their service is offering is much more valuable. I have talked about them before, so I assume you know what Blinkist is. They take a whole book and take all the key takeaways and put them into these 10 to 15 minutes blinks. And today I would really like to share a whole book list with you, because it's a list of 9 books that are on Elon Musk's reading list. And you probably know Elon Musk reads a lot of books, but maybe, as myself, you find it hard to find the time to sit down and read a lot of books, and that is why I personally use Blinkist and have done so long before they become a sponsor of this channel. I went through all the 9 books on the Elon Musk reading list on a trip down to my parents, because they are all available as blinks that are an average of 13 minutes long, so I could easily go through all 9 books on my little drive on 1.5 hour each way. I just love that while I'm driving or doing any other activity like running or just getting a coffee break, I can get all the key takeaway from a whole book in just 10 to 15 minutes. But Blinkist, of course, has much more than just the Elon Musk reading list. They have over 5,000 titles already, so I will bet they have something that you find interesting as well, if Elon's book list is not good enough. But this is really powerful stuff and can really help you get a lot of knowledge without any real big efforts. Who doesn't want that? And that is why I'm so happy that Blinkist has decided to become a sponsor of this channel. And you can now get access to all this knowledge. Just click the link below or scan this QR code to start your 7-day free trial and get 25% of a premium membership. So go nuts, my friend, and enjoy the power of big knowledge in a small package.
In Europe, BEVs are still growing and fossil fuel is dropping faster than legacy automakers can keep up.
In the third quarter of 2022, the market share of battery electric vehicles increased further, accounting for 11.9% of the total EU passenger car registrations, up from 9.8% in Q3 of 2021, so growing 22% year over year from about 212,000 to 259,000 units. Plug-in hybrids did fall 6% in Q3. I do think we will see this trend continue here in Europe. Hybrids losing out to BEVs as more and more people are getting familiar with all the benefits with pure electric vehicles over the hybrids. But this will also get a big catalyst as Germany, Europe's biggest car market, will remove for plug-in hybrids by 2023, only 2 months from now. This will definitely send some ripple effects through the European auto industry, and we will probably see hybrids fall off a cliff in 2023. We can also see the trend if we take all 3 quarters compared to 2021. We can see BEV has overtaken hybrids in the market share, and diesel and petrol is losing ground. Petrol slipped another 3.3%, counting 823,360 units, and diesel slipped 4.7%, counting 360,596 units. So combined, those two dropped almost 1.2 million units in Q3. So automakers that are not pure BEVs like Tesla are still losing unit sales, as their EV sales are not keeping up with the drop of the ICE cars. Just the fact that almost 12% of all cars sold are BEVs, but someone like BMW or Volkswagen is still only 6% BEVs.
One that made a big drop in Q3 was Toyota. That was down 25% in profits in Q3, and still don't see the writing on the wall.
Toyota posted a worse than expected 25% drop in quarterly profit and cut its annual output from 9.7 to 9.2 million units as the Japanese firm battles a surge in material cost and persistent semiconductor shortage. And I would like to add to the list of problems no EV sales and collapsing ICE sales, as pure EV maker Tesla had a 47% increase in their gross profit, but Toyota is down 25%. The world's biggest automaker by sale also warned that it remained difficult to predict the future after posting its fourth consecutive quarterly profits decline, underlining the strength of business's headwinds it faces. Yes, and this will continue as they are not making EVs. So that is what is missing in their forecast. They are betting on multiple different drivetrains, while most others are going for one powertrain, the BEV. It is not that difficult to predict the future if they were just willing to admit the future is EVs. They will lose even more next year. But this year is going to be a completely crash from Toyota. They will be dropping a whole Tesla. Last year, Toyota made 10.5 million units, and 2022 will end up around 9.2 million units, is their prediction. So Toyota has lost about 1.3 million units just this year alone. So almost as many cars as Tesla is expected to produce this year. This is going to be a worse year for Toyota than 2020, the year of COVID. They can blame it all on semiconductor and material cost all they want, but to have a worse year this year than the COVID year should tell you otherwise. The demand for the product you are selling is dropping off a cliff. And next year, I do expect the BEVs, not the plug-in, but pure BEVs, to get to 18 to 20 million units, as it is expected that China will get to over 40% EV market share next year. So get about 10 million electric vehicle sales next year all on their own. And everyone else but Toyota and the other Japanese automakers is scrambling to increase their EV sales. As I have showed in another video, it is almost impossible to slow down the EV adoption so much that it will not be 50% by 2030. And only with 50% growth, which is slower than it has been so far, it will all be over by 2026. But the EV adoption is expected to do more than 100% in growth next year. And that means the global EV market, if it should reach 20 million units, and the car market stays at 65 million units, that it could be 30% of the market already next year. But even if it only doubles next year, and we will have about 16 million in BEV sales, then we will have something like 25% of the global car market being BEV. So Toyota's sale could drop another 25% next year, as they will make next to nothing EVs next year, but the demand for ICE cars will drop about 25%. So they could potentially go down from 9.2 this year to close to 7 million next year. They are in serious trouble.
And the energy crisis in Europe is the beginning of the end for gas-fired power in Europe.
Gas-fired power plant generations, which is currently part of Europe's electricity backbone, is being threatened by higher prices, market challenges, and declining cost of renewable energy. Rystad Energy research shows that with recent gas, it would be 10 times more expensive to operate a gas-fired power plant in long term than build new solar PV capacity in Europe. While gas prices are not expected to remain at such high levels in the medium to long term, when and if they fall, gas will struggle to remain competitive in Europe's power mix. This research uses the levelized cost of energy, LCOE, as Tony Saber has also been talking about before, for gas and coal-fired power plant generations at different price levels and compare it to the LCOE of solar, PV and wind. Rystad Energy forecasts that TTF prices will stabilize at around 31 euro per megawatt hour by 2030, which puts the LCOE of existing power plants close to 150 euros per megawatt hour. This is still 3 times more than the LCOE of new solar PV facilities. The gas-fired power plant to continue being competitive, gas prices would need to fall close to 17 euros per megawatt hour, and carbon prices would need to fall to 10 euros per ton, which is currently unthinkable. As Carlos Terras Diaz, head of Rystad Energy, said, European decision makers need to decide between continuing to use expensive, less secure gas or investing in cheaper renewables and storage options. Gas will continue to play an important role in the European energy mix for some time to come, but unless something fundamental shifts, the simple economics as well as climate concern will tip the balance in favor of renewables. Yes, just as Tony Seba has been saying for many years, and wind and solar power have just made up a record 24% of the European Union's electricity mix since Russia launched its war on Ukraine. A new report says, a boost that has also helped the bloc battle soaring inflation. The report's key message is simple: more renewables, less inflation. Exactly, and only when all nations will be run on renewable, made in their own country, will such nations be truly free, as they will no longer rely on energy from other countries.
And Volkswagen is out saying their MEB platform is too boring to ever get a performance R version.
We've been hearing rumors about Volkswagen's ID.3R. Might happen ever since we first saw the standard version of Volkswagen's entry-level EV. Today, though, it would seem those rumors has been quashed, because R's boss Reinhold Ivans has told Top Gear that the company won't build any R models on the MEB platform. As he said, for the MEB we discuss concepts, we discuss what the platform can offer us, and we said that is not enough for an R model. So Volkswagen's MEB platform is simply just not good enough to bring us any performance version, and that is probably why the IDs are a bit boring when it comes to acceleration. The fastest EV model the Volkswagen brand has right now is the ID.4 GTX that does a 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. So nothing exciting like an R performance version of the ID.3 or anything else exciting before the new platform is coming, hopefully in 2026, as Volkswagen's MEB platform is simply not good enough. If we are lucky, we will soon be able to get an GTX version of the ID.3 maybe, but we will unfortunately never see an R version. But we will never see a version from Volkswagen that can keep up with Tesla's performance model, as Reinhold also said. At the moment, we say it's about acceleration, 0 to 62 miles per hour in about 4 seconds, not less. That makes no sense for us. Currently our cars are around 4 to 4.5 seconds from 0 to 62 miles per hour, and we like to retain that with the EVs. We don't want super sports car. We are part of Volkswagen, and our strategy is to support the top of volume positioning. It's not necessary to have something with the speed of the Porsche Taycan. The cars can't be too expensive, or we lose the customers we want to reach. So the Volkswagen brand's EVs will never be able to keep up in acceleration with most other EV makers. I understand their thinking, but also why not just make a version that people can upgrade to if they want to, and just make them in small volumes, but get the halo effect of that performance car, or people might start looking at Volkswagen as the boring car brand. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this new show.
Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts.
And we got another great example of how the legacy automakers' old ICE factories are not an asset but a problem, as BMW have just invested $1 billion in their old factories in Spartanburg, South Carolina, to retrofit it to be an EV factory instead of an ICE factory. and will also spend $700 million on new high-voltage battery assembly facility in nearby Woodruff. $1 billion just to refurbish one of their old factories. And BMW has 31 production and assembly facilities in 15 countries. So I hope BMW has planned for $31 billion to retool their old factories, but I doubt it. But that is some heavy investment in BEVs from BMW. Just 1 week after their CEO Zipse was out saying that hydrogen is the future and is the next hip thing. Yeah, talk about a ship having a captain that is giving orders to the crew to sail in 4 different directions at once. Yeah, BMW is just all over the place. And Morgan Stanley shared this chart of the US EV sales. It just says year to date, but not sure when this is from because it looks a little old, as Tesla's numbers should be much higher than this. But anyway, it still shows just how ridiculous the whole talk about the competition is coming is. Do you remember when we saw headlines about the Ford Mach-E stealing sales from Tesla? And here we can see the Model Y is selling almost 10x as many units as the Mach-E, or about 29x as much as the Volkswagen ID4. But speaking of BMW's EV sales in the US, look at Lucid. Actually sold more EVs than BMW's iX and i4 combined. Ouch. And Volkswagen CEO Schäfer said, "We are working flat out to develop another compact SUV based on the ID3. But you already have the Cobra and the ID3. Why should you make another one? That is just going to eat your own sales. This is such a bad idea. Maybe he should see my video about range architecture." Link down below. And Tobias Lin shared photos from the Berlin factory. They are already cutting down trees for the expansion, as we talked about last week. They are not wasting any time, but it's easy when you have a machine like this. That looks so cool, and in no time at all it went from this to this to this. Very impressive. And George Hotz, a founder and CEO of self-driving startup, AI, that we've talked about before, is leaving the company. George says he doesn't feel capable to continue running the driver assist technology company he founded in 2015. Big respect for what George has made here, but it also shows us just how hard this problem is. And if you have not already seen it, Tony Seba has made 3 new videos showing off the ICE cars are collapsing and EVs to the moon. Link down below. And don't forget to grab your copy of my new book, The Elon Musk Mission: Make the Future Awesome. The reviews are coming in and they are very good, and we already have 3 best-selling banner on Amazon. And the audiobook should come out during next week, so I will leave a link below so you can get your own copy so you don't miss out. Ford has decided to lower the price of the Mach-E in China between 5 to 10%, where it's locally produced for the Chinese market. So that is probably because Tesla lowered their price. The only problem is that Ford is not making money on their EVs yet, so this will just result in an even bigger loss for the automaker. But let's see if any of the mainstream media outlets will be screaming about demand problem for the Mach-E as they were about Tesla's demand because they lowered their price. But I don't think anyone will see this as a story, because it's not Tesla. But the impact of this is very small, as Ford is not selling a lot of Mach-E's in China yet. It's not clear how many Ford Mach-E's have been produced and sold so far in China, but it's estimated by some local media at a few thousand units. So this will not really hurt Ford much, but they of course had to follow Tesla's lead and keep up with their price, even though it will lose them even more money. And we saw the Tesla semi-truck effortlessly accelerating from standstill this week with no sound at all. This truck is going to be a hardcore smackdown to any other truck on the market, no matter propulsion, as I just made a whole video about. So if you haven't checked that one out yet, you definitely should. Link down below. And we learned that 20,000 1,000 Model Ys has been built at Giga Texas to date. Android Tesla wrote this on Twitter. Sounds great. The first 10,000 units took 108 days. The second one took 43 days. Looking forward to more milestone. Congratulations to the Tesla team. Based on my calculation, Giga Shanghai reached 20,000 units in exactly 100 days, Giga Texas in 151 days, and Giga Berlin in 187 days. So Texas is actually ramping up a bit faster than Berlin. They just got started later than Berlin, so that is why they are a little behind. But as the 4680 cell ramps up, we should see Texas beating Berlin, as Texas has two versions, one with the 2170 cell and one with the 4680 cell. And Tesla add Model Y comfort suspension at Fremont and Giga Texas, including to the performance version, as Elon wrote on Twitter. Standard non-performance 3 and Y suspension in production now has improved comfort without affecting handling. Nice. And NASA's Mark Kiarish, or something like that, says that SpaceX's first Starship flight with the Super Heavy booster is now scheduled for early December. Wow, the semi-truck will start deliveries in December as well. I think we're going to have a very exciting Christmas this year. And we did see SpaceX launch their Falcon Heavy, the biggest rocket in operation today, that did launch Elon's Roadster into space in 2018 and did that awesome dual booster landing. And we finally get to see this again. And it all went perfectly, and we got to see the awesome dual landing one more time. And we got a sneak peek of the Neo ET7 that is coming soon. I personally think it looks very nice, except the 3 horns, of course.
Triceratops means 3-horned face.
But other than that, I think it looks great. And Hallmark's catalog showed off a new full self-driving beta 10.69.3 driving to Twin Peaks in San Francisco in the dark with 0 takeovers. And as he wrote on Twitter, it drives like a boss. It is still improving rapidly. And just if you haven't heard it yet, the EU has officially approved the law of banning new ICE car sales by 2035. So BMW's lobbying against this did not help. It is now official. So BMW have to make some changes to their plan, as they expect to make ICE cars for decades to come. And Toyota and all the other Japanese automakers will either have to speed up their EV adoption in Europe, or become a much smaller player in Europe, or completely pull out of Europe. And we just talked last week that Stellantis doesn't expect to be able to make EVs profitable by 2035. So if that's the case, they are in big trouble in Europe, as that would mean all of their business in Europe by 2035 will be at a loss. So good luck to all the old guys finding a way of becoming zero ICE cars manufacturer in Europe by 2035. And Northvolt has announced that the ongoing European energy crisis is forcing them to postpone battery production in the company's new facility in Germany. It is now considering the US battery production instead, because of the nice incentives over there, just as Tesla, and the high energy prices over here. And Elon is hard at work trying to make Twitter awesome, as he wrote, "Our goal is to make Twitter the most accurate source of information on Earth, without regard to political affiliations. Yes, let's get this going and finally get an accurate source of information. That would be awesome, because that is so difficult to find today." And Tesla's supercharging network in Australia is about to get a major boost thanks to funding from the New South Wales government. Tesla was one of 7 companies to be awarded part of almost 40 million Australian dollars, founded to expand the country's network of DC fast chargers. So if they get an even cut, about 5.7 million Australian dollars each, that means that Tesla will be able to put up about 142 chargers in Australia for that amount, as it only costs Tesla about 40,000 Australian dollars to build one charger. But most others cost at least $200,000, so they will only be able to build about 28. So quite the difference there.
And Ron Barron did a great interview with Elon Musk this week. Definitely something you should go check out. I will not dive too much into all the topics in this new show, but just mention that Elon did say this.
But it is looking increasingly like, for some of the critical elements of batteries, that Tesla will need to get into the mining business, mining and refining. I'm talking about Tesla doing it.
Ourselves.
Yes.
Yes, Tesla will likely get into mining and refining. But a lot of good stuff in the interview. I will leave a link to it down in the description below.
And before we end off with a bit of fun, I just want to make a quick shout out to my new patrons and members of this new show. My two new patrons, Dennis Williams and Darius Smolsky.
Thank you so much for all your support. I am doing this all by myself, but you guys are all the producers of this new show. Thank you. And a big and special thanks to Supporter of the Week. And this week's winner is JJ Falconer. He is a new performance patron of mine and is an author himself and has already read my book as well. Thank you so much, Jay, for all your support. Much appreciated. I will contact you on Patreon. In the meantime, go in and check the merch store to find the t-shirt or mug of your choice. And let's end off with a bit of fun. We know BMW is all over the place with hybrids, BEVs, hydrogen, where most others just keep focus on the only car of the future. Remember, it is all about focus. That is all we have time for in this new show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help this video out a lot. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one.
If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. And if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel and get your shout out on this show. You can also become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out and some extra perks. Hit the members button to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I tweet all the news as it comes out and more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. Now it's also possible to support the show without buying anything, becoming a member or a patron. There is a link to a donation options in the show notes. And also as simple as hitting the super like button. But going forward, I will be making more videos for patrons and members only. And I will give my YouTube members and patrons early access to my videos whenever possible and make my videos ads free for members and patrons only. So don't miss out.
And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.